John's passion narrative, which means the narrative describing Jesus's arrest, death, and resurrection, is the most anti-Jewish of all. All the Gospels portray the Jews as culpable for killing Jesus and exonerates Pontius Pilate. Now, the question is to what extent? I write about this in Volume 1 of Let's Get Biblical. So Mark, the Jews definitely are urging Pontius Pilate to go ahead with this, and Pontius Pilate is definitely reluctant. But we encounter things in the book of John, which is very strange. And what you mentioned now in John 19, verse 11, is really very striking, seals it up. So the Jews are demanding that Jesus be crucified. Well, we find that famously in Matthew 27. But in John, Jesus is very talkative. That's so different than Mark. In Mark's passion narrative, or when he's standing for Pontius Pilate, Jesus is almost completely silent, almost has nothing to say. In fact, in Mark's whole passion narrative, he is absolutely silent, bewildered by what's happening. His only words to Pontius Pilate are two Greek words, su lege, you say it. That's it. John is very, very different, where Jesus is very talkative and is indulging in very elaborate conversations with Pontius Pilate. And John's goal is to make sure everybody knows that the Jews are completely responsible for the death of the innocent Jesus, and Pontius Pilate had nothing to do with it. So in case you didn't get the memo, John wants you to know, so he creates something, and there's nothing like that in another gospel, where Jesus tells Pontius Pilate in John 19, verse 11, he says to him, "You have absolutely no authority over me." Now, what he means there is not what you had shared. What he has in view there, it means you're not responsible for my execution. It is therefore only those who deliver me over to you, they are the ones whose sin is greatest. What we are told Jesus says in this particular dialogue is, you're exonerated, you're off the hook. And if you look carefully, the text in John 19, literally Pontius Pilate delivers Jesus over to them, meaning to the Jews. I mean, the Jews literally are given Jesus to be taken away to be crucified. Now, it's the Roman soldiers who do the actual crucifixion, but in John it reads so strong. When I'm using words like strong, I mean that the Jews are completely responsible for the act of killing Christ, and Pontius Pilate is just completely off the hook. And, John is going to amp that up. Now, Matthew's awful as well, and I'm not going to go through Matthew. So that's what comes into view in John 19. John 19, Jesus himself tells Pontius Pilate, you have no authority over this, I'm going to add in these brackets, over this crime against me. That means you're not involved. You're completely off the hook on this, and therefore it's they who gave me over to you, meaning the Jews. Their sin is greater. I mean, could you understand why Christians read this and don't go, God, I hate those Italians for killing Christ? Christians are not bad people. When they say it was the Jews, you have the Christian go, the Jews did it. They're just reading their Christian Bible in its plain, most natural reading.
Jews. We finally killed Jesus 3 days later. Well, yeah, The Jewish authorities, they killed Jesus. We're talking about Caiaphas. We're talking about the Sanhedrin. There's a lot to talk about regarding the Jews' role in Christ's crucifixion. Obviously not the Jews living today. They didn't have anything to do with it. But the Jews at the time in Roman Palestine, and their role in condemning Jesus, how it was orchestrated. It was an orchestrated thing. They needed to figure out a way to get him to stop preaching to the Jews. And this was the way that they did that, and they wound up crucifying him for it.
And the authors are working very hard to exonerate Pontius Pilate. And as I show in Volume 1, it's just a matter of degree. They're all indicting the Jews. So much so that there are Christian denominations that think, for instance, in the Ethiopian church, they regard Pontius Pilate as a saint, that he actually repented of whatever sin he had in this affair, killed himself, and they venerate him. They venerate Pontius Pilate. I mean, that's mind-blowing. So that's what comes into view. John is the most anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish in every way. And it's the Jews. The Jews did this. The Jews are responsible for this. So, yeah, that's what's going on in John 19:11. This is why the Jews are suffering so much and why our enemies hate us so much. Christians are not evil. They're not bad. I mean, there's some crazy ones, but their minds have been poisoned with this kind of toxic literature, and that's why they hold views about the Jewish people that they otherwise no rational person would embrace. Thank you for your question. If you enjoy these programs, please like and subscribe.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא